Hello and welcome to the Anomaly Project, The Agenda, the show where we look ahead to our upcoming episode. I'm Marcus Lowth, and joining me as he does every week is Steve Mera. Now, Steve, this week we're speaking to RACHEL KREBS-TRISILLA, paranormal investigator from Tennessee. It's going to be really interesting
Yeah.
because I'm looking forward to this chat.
I have met her before, and she's a fascinating lady. She's
Mm.
been involved in the subject for quite some time. But you know what? She's open-minded. She's not. I've come across a lot of paranormal researchers in my time, which really just stronghold in in paranormal. I might ask them about, well, what about anything on UFOs or crypto? Oh, don't know anything about that. I'm not interested. I'm just interested in that. But she's not. And
Mm.
she has made effort to sort of bring some of these subjects together, and that's good because I think that promotes the whole aspect of phenomenology as far as I'm concerned. They're all intertwined somehow,
Mm.
and I want to see more people doing that. So she ticks all the boxes for me, absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, she's definitely, she's definitely not a one-track person. She's got interest in all, going in all kinds of directions. I mean, one thing I've been speaking to her in the run-up to our interview, which is coming up, and I've been talking to
Mm.
her, and we were saying, it's going to be Halloween, and she's big on this kind of thing because,
Yeah,
it's part of her, I don't
more
know,
so in the States,
interest.
actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of her time of the year, I guess, basically.
Yeah,
So, I'd like to get her thoughts on, that Halloween aspect of things. Is there any truth in the legends of Halloween? Like she says, like have said, and she said in my communications, Halloween's all year is Halloween for me. But
yeah,
I think there's a certain what's the word? I think we need a little bit of the entertainment because I think it brings people along with us. Even
it
if you write a very
does.
serious book, it's still entertainment. Because
Yeah.
if the people can't follow that and can't enjoy themselves reading it, the message won't get across.
Well,
So I think there's a lot of validity in this.
there really is. I mean, it's cut down right down the middle. I mean, there is some entertainment side to it, and a lot of people, which are ghost hunters, I would say, ghost hunters or into hauntology and stuff. Even that split, you've
Mm.
got paranormal investigators, which just go to, they pay money and they go into stately homes, old hospitals, halls, and locations where paranormal phenomena is supposed to be taking place. And they'll take a team out and and there's that scare factor to it, the entertainment side to it, thrill
Mm.
seeking, that sort of thing. And they go to see if they're going to capture anything or experience anything, photograph, EVPs, all that sort of thing. Um, but then the other side of that is, what about the people who are being traumatized by paranormal phenomena in their homes?
No, for sure.
Did he get involved in trying to help people? Because then it's a whole different ballgame when you're trying to deal with somebody who has disturbances and they're looking to you to see if you can help them. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, okay, first off, you don't know what you're going into in that
Mm.
environment. Secondly, you don't even know if you've got control over trying to assist. And you have to be kind of honest and say, look, you know what? We will try our very best and do multiple things, but at the end of the day, we do no guarantees, and there is no guarantees, to be honest with you. I
No,
mean,
no.
there are lots of people that said, "Oh, I've moved them off to the light and stuff," but do you know what? I don't know the consistency of how long that lasts for. Have they just vacated temporarily? Does phenomena creep back at some stage? For some cases I know of, absolutely has.
Hmm.
But then of course you've got the science guys, the
Yeah.
paranormalists, the parapsychologists, which really they don't even really want to get into the paranormal, to be honest with this, from what I've seen. And it's a shame because there's a lot to learn there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and just regarding the residential thing, I mean, obviously, as per any investigation, we were speaking just before we come on air about, using people's real names and having to get permissions and understanding that they might not want that. But I mean, there'll be some people that will be, yeah, you can use my name and yeah, you can film this for television because they will feel that that might help other people who are experiencing
Yeah,
similar things. And so that will encourage people to come forward. And just going back to the entertainment aspect, just to be clear, I mean, yeah, for sure, there's a difference between people making television programs for entertainment. But
yeah,
even if you're on a serious conference doing a serious lecture about serious subject matter, there's still a form of entertainment wrapped within
yeah.
that. Because if you don't put yourself across properly and people
That's
aren't
right.
engaged, they
They
won't
have
take
to.
in the message. So I do feel that the entertainment aspect is important, but Yeah, I mean, we should probably speak to Rachel about both that and, like you say, the difference between residential and actually dealing with people as opposed to corporations or
That
actual
is different.
buildings.
It is
Yeah.
different, of course. And you can't blind people, just the general public, of with science papers. They're not interested. They're just like, what the hell is this? You have to sort of fashion a presentation in a way that they kind of understand. It's entertaining. You've got
Mm.
some visuals because, like, keeping the span of interest now is very, very hard.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because we're challenged with people that can just jump on YouTube and get all the little gossip and photos and videos, most of which are probably fake, to be
Well,
honest
it's
with you.
increasingly so. It's a
It,
problem.
it
It
does
really
seem to
is.
be a problem, but at the same time, there's your entertainment factor. It's at your fingertips 24/7, so people tend to do that. I mean, I'll be honest, I've only really done maybe 10 in my lifetime, which were locations you pay to go into,
Mm.
to
Mm.
check out. And that was only because we wanted to conduct environmental experiments, and we needed a location where phenomena might manifest whilst we're there,
Yeah, yeah.
because we're only there for a short period of time, really, hoping that something might happen, to see what we can capture and run experiments. And with Chingle Hall, which was in Preston, which was once listed as
Mm.
Britain's most haunted building at one time,
Right.
more so than Borley Rectory at one point. I visited there many times. I knew the owners, and there were some strange things that happened there, and we did experience them, and we did capture them, and we used it as evidence. But at some point, you kind of go, okay, what next?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to, are you really happy just with that? Or do you really want to find out how it does it? What's the paranormal mechanics, for an example, behind it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I hear you there. I think I agree completely with you to a well, not even to a point. I agree completely with you. One thing I would say is though, part of understanding the mechanics and everything is
Yeah.
would be looking at various different places. I mean, just pop into my mind there. You want to be certainly not the most haunted building by any stretch, but there's a building in Doncaster where I'm from, St James's Swimming Pool. It's called, and God, whenever I went in there as a kid, and a few of us said this, it just felt spooky. It just
Mm.
felt a bit odd. But we didn't really think
Ominous.
anything
Yeah.
else of it. Do you know what I mean? We
Yeah.
actually got there for swimming lessons, and I think I even took my lad there for his swimming lessons when he was younger. But it's been abandoned for about, I don't know, 20 years maybe now. And I was just flicking around on the internet the other day, and there was a paranormal team had gone in there, and boy, did they capture some good stuff.
Mm.
I mean, literally, it
Yeah.
was only like doors opening, but it was clear there was no. Oh, it certainly didn't appear to be no chicanery. And so I'm thinking, so all those feelings that we had,
Yeah.
probably right. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I think the more buildings you check out, I get what you're saying in terms of, yeah, you certainly can't just document them all. As interesting as that would be, you've then
Yeah.
got to do something with that data and try and find
Yeah.
the information that's in there, basically.
You really do have to, but there are people which are traumatized by this sort of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know what to do. And it's become very difficult because the police don't want to know now. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the first thing that kind of goes through your mind is, we've got to ring someone, ring the police. And the police don't, what do you think? Well, what the police are going to do? Police aren't interested. They
Oh
don't know
yeah,
what to say. They might even just say, well, maybe you ought to get in touch with the church. 9 times out of 10, you'll be lucky to get even a reverend round or a priest to
yeah, yeah,
do
yeah.
anything, because it's really, really hard. And I've tried with Catholic churches, I've tried all sorts of different things. I ended up getting the best results from Methodist churches
Yeah.
assisting me in regarding helping people, and they have done. But they have their own protocols and they do what they
Mm.
do. I don't get involved. I let them do their job. And it's about 12% of the time they might be successful ridding phenomena.
Mm.
And I think to myself, well, it's 12%. You had 0% before.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I'll try anything I possibly can. But the problem is though, sometimes when you build a house, you entrap phenomena within it, like a fly in a glass. Could be
yeah.
the land.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's interesting you mentioned police there because when I was speaking to Caroline McKendry Gibson, she was saying that there's a high number of police officers, detectives, whatever, people from the forces basically, who are witnesses to paranormal incidents. Now, I
Yeah.
found that quite interesting. She was saying the reason being, as you just said there, is a lot of people, initially at least, will report strange occurrences to the police, and they're duty bound to at least investigate the
Well,
property.
you think
So
you
they
have to, yeah.
sometimes find themselves mixed up in that.
Well,
One thing
that's what happened in,
just to
yeah.
add there is that a lot of the time they will recommend contacting a paranormal group, a local one, which is
Sometimes
interesting in
that.
itself because it's
Yeah.
almost like it's an acknowledgement that something strange has happened, but it's also, as you say, an acknowledgement that we're not dealing with this.
Well,
Go to them. So,
it's even harder now. I mean, you look at back at the Enfield case. It took place in London in
yeah,
'77. I
77, I
mean,
think, wasn't it? Yeah.
the police were called out
Mm.
because of the disturbances,
Mm.
and they actually went and they
And yeah, they've got
witnessed the
to. They've
disturbances,
got
and they
to.
have affidavits and statements which
Yeah,
were
because
made,
it
video
could be
recording.
somebody lurking in the garden. It might not be a
Well,
ghost. You've
exactly.
got
So I
to
think
know,
I
yeah.
think I think in modern day times, because knowing what the police are like now, because half the time they won't even come out, even if you've been broken into.
Well, yes, this is
In the
true.
UK, that
This is
is.
very
That's
true.
what it's like, folks, in the UK.
This
Yeah,
is very true at the
you know.
minute. At
But
times,
it's
you
you
certainly
really
wait a
need to
while.
sort of say, I think that might be an intruder in my home. Now, you didn't say if it was a physical intruder, but
Mm,
you
mm.
can say, I think there might be an intruder in my home, and then they're going to have to come and pay attention. And that's probably the best way to do it. Dealing with priests and stuff, you best never ring them. Never ring a priest. You've got to go. They've got to see you. They've
Mm.
got to look you in the eyes. You forget it. If you think you're going to get a priest in the UK, this is what it's like. You're not going to get a priest to come down just on the phone call. You're going to have to go and see them. And I've dealt with some, but you know what? Sometimes not even priests help. Sometimes,
Well, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because especially by comparison to America, where Rachel's from, and I'm not sure of her religious persuasion if she even has one, so I'm not even going to hazard a guess. But I know that in America, they're still kind of in that Christian religious kind
Yeah,
of society, whereas we're kind of a post-Christian society,
mm,
post-religious society in the UK. And we have been for
yeah,
decades, really.
yeah, yeah.
So it kind of makes you wonder whether even the priesthood don't necessarily hang on to this as much as maybe they would have done
Maybe not.
decades ago. If people haven't
Yeah,
got a belief there, then maybe it's a kind of,
yeah.
we'll keep our distance. But
It
yeah,
is a tricky situation when people are having trauma type experiences in their home, trying to deal with them. I mean, lucky for me, I did 16 years of corporate investigations, which were
mm,
confidential, and this was offices, this was
yeah, yeah,
buildings
yeah.
which couldn't function properly because staff wouldn't work in certain areas or work at certain times
Mm-hmm,
of the year in certain places of the building because of the disturbances. And they didn't know how to deal with that on a managerial level. If
mm.
you're a boss of a company and some people come to you and say, there's no way I'm working down there or I'm working past 7 o'clock at night when it goes dark, what do you do?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't, you can't just say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to get rid of you. You cannot do that. There are things, protection. So the thing is that what do they do? There are certain protocols, but sometimes, dealing with people which dealt, I think we were the only company or establishment in the UK at the time which were dealing with corporate investigations, to be honest with you,
right, yeah,
confidential ones. Some of them involved Ministry of Defence, some of them big businesses, Cotilla Properties,
yeah.
they are big, big, massive companies which are being affected by disturbances because they go and buy these or rent these big old buildings,
Yep.
and there are plenty of them in the UK which are
Oh,
just
yeah, yeah.
vacant.
Mm.
And before you know it, you go in, you start knocking walls down, changing the place, throwing a load of EMF in there through equipment and stuff. And before you know it, you've got disturbances,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
it's a problem.
the place I worked at, the Doncaster Free Press, which was part of the, I don't know, South Yorkshire newspapers group, but that building, and I'll flash a picture up on the screen, but that building, God, there was so much stuff that people witnessed, including myself. Like footsteps from behind in the basement.
Yeah,
There was an office that I worked in, and I'd just come back from having a cigarette, and I heard the lady in there called Diana, and she just said, excuse me," and she got up from a chair and she went to the back office. She said, "Someone's just come in," and when she went there was nobody there. We had experiences on the upper levels. I said basically to get to the point. About a year ago, maybe a bit less, I put out one of my social media posts. Anyone can you remember, experiences you had in this building if you worked there? And loads of people come back to me. And we were examining this stuff and compiling it, and we realised that the most active part of the building was what we called the post room, which was in
yeah,
the basement. People would not go in there, and if they did
mm,
go in there, they would take somebody with them. Seriously, grown adults,
yeah,
including
yeah,
myself. And along there ran the main walkway underneath the ground, which people heard footsteps on. But directly above that, where Diana saw that person, that's where she was sat. And then 2 floors up, where a lady saw a little girl, and I'll come back to this in a minute, a little girl on the stairs is again directly above. So what we've got is a column going all the way
I'd
up,
said
all
this
this stuff is
before. I've
taking
dealt with
place.
column effect hauntings. There was a
Yeah,
flat,
and
so there
just
were flats and they were all the same
that's it.
rooms.
It's if it's
Yeah.
literally coming up from the ground and stretching up. The little girl, though, is interesting because she's a good friend of mine. And she saw this little girl, and this girl has said, "Hello, mummy," and then turned around and disappeared through the wall. When she took it upon herself to do some research, and what she discovered was that building used to be like a chemist, a pharmacist, but there was
Mm.
like a makeshift, and this is we're talking about early 1900s, there was a makeshift creche in the back where all the kids would go while the mums and dads, or mainly mums and that, were working. And so, again, it's clear that to me that little girl that my friend saw was most likely from one of those crashes in the early
Yeah.
1900s. But yeah, just that
Yep.
column effect, just fascinating. When we just realised it was like, wow, that's what it is.
That is exactly what it is. I've only done a couple of cases of that, not so many, but column
Mm,
effects. One of the best ones we did document was flats, apartments above
mm,
each other, and it was the same room each.
mm.
It's like it was though, literally a column effect haunting.
Yeah,
It is strange.
it speaks about surely about energy or something because it's not like there was other parts of the building people did see stuff, but most of the ones that people remembered and the real good ones, if you like, for want of a better word, were in this column.
Yeah,
So is that what's
it's
in the ground? Is it what's in the
strange.
building? We should have to speak to Rachel about that. About
Yeah, I
what
mean,
is important for this sort of stuff.
well, it does. I mean, when we're dealing with hauntology, we kind of go, okay, well, we've got intelligent or interactive. One of the you can agree with, they're both the same thing, which is
Hmm.
really kind of true haunting, where it interacts with you and your environment, your timeline. So it's interactive. That to me shows intelligence, and that's like a real haunting in a sense of
Yeah.
speaking. But then you know what? Through the research, when we dedicate a team to do the research, for instance, an apparition of somebody's been seen. We've had apparitions of soldiers seen in a new build home
Hmm.
which was nothing there prior, just fields, and there wasn't a
Yeah.
prior
Yeah.
building there. And you think to yourself, why is a Second World War soldier being seen in a house which was only 2 years old on a field where nothing has ever been built? And you think, what is it? Because we can't find a connection with the location, we just refer to it as its translocational haunting.
Yeah.
However, in some cases, we say, oh, right, well, that apparition is likely the woman that passed away here. You've got localized hauntings. So you got these, and then they've got the ones that really aren't a haunting, which is your residual. It's more like stone tape. It's like it's played back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like what you get is Gettysburg, because maybe 6 or 7 years ago on Halloween, I was at Gettysburg on
Hmm.
Halloween,
Hmm.
and it's crazy there. Everybody's out. It's like
Oh yeah.
massive, you know, and it was interesting, but they make a big thing out of it in the US, of course.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just mention the soldier thing. I mean, there's a couple of things I think about that actually. I mean, like you say, because you tend to think if you see a soldier somewhere, then there must be a connection. Maybe a soldier lived there or whatever. But
Yeah,
this is the importance of data, because for all we know, that soldier, for example, that's seen is hypothetical. I know, but he just could have had some kind of connection to that land, whether it just be that he used to like
somehow
walking there in the past. So
it
you
could be the
need
most,
data.
yeah, could be the most minute thing, but there might be
Oh,
a thread of
absolutely.
connection.
One thing that I want to mention on the back of that is I had a friend who lived. I won't name the village, but they lived on a main road through the village, and there were old houses that were built around 1890s, early 1900s, and he would regularly see a soldier sat on the bed.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Now
yeah,
he checked his records on this, or he asked his mother to, because we were only like teenagers at the time. Or they had an interest in this, and they could find no records of a soldier or a serving soldier being there. However, they did have a relative who was a soldier, who served in the First World War. So
yeah,
again, they were kind
yeah.
of thinking, well, is this our relative? Is he manifesting here because we're here? So the more you ask, the more questions just keep
You
going
really,
back
you
at
really, you really do, and there are some, organizations out there that capture regular phenomena, photographs, EVPs, electronic voice phenomena seems to be the main thing these days. And they do get some very interesting ones. But what we discovered some time back, because I know Rachel must have been involved with EVP at some stage
Oh
being
yeah,
in
for
one of those
sure. She's done
locations,
loads of
or
investigation.
maybe direct voice phenomena where it seemingly just comes out of thin air.
Hmm. Mm,
But on some incidents, when we've managed to communicate, because EVPs are tend to be, if you really want to get into the terminology of EVP, electronic voice phenomena,
mm-hmm,
is information that's come unknowingly and recorded onto devices.
mm,
But it's not a form of communication. As soon as you start saying, okay, I want to ask a question and something replies to that question, it's intelligence.
mm-hmm.
And that's kind of becomes actual voice phenomena, AVP, in a sense.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
People should split that because most people that get EVPs, it's just like random. I mean, we got an amazing one. I've seen a lovely dress. I mean, what the
Mm-hmm,
hell is?
mm-hmm.
It's nothing to do with what I'm. What
Well, we
I've seen
spoke
a
to
lovely
Curry
dress.
Stegan about this, didn't we? And he was saying
Yeah,
the same thing that when he asked certain questions, he could sense a response that was different from the other responses. So, like you say, it's clearly a sign of
it's a
intelligence there
different
and stuff.
thing that. Yeah, and that
Mm,
should be categorized not under EVP. It should be separated and go. Hang on a second, that's communication.
mm, yeah.
That's a different thing,
Oh, for sure.
which
Yeah, yeah.
leans more to instrumental transcommunication in the sense of speaking rather than EVP. But it just gets all put under one banner now, really, unfortunately.
I think a part of that is to be. I don't use the word inclusive, but is to like you speak about a lot, is to further the subject because if we start baffling people with science, or for want of a
Yeah,
better word, or long words, you're just kind of creating an us and them situation. Like we know everything and you don't, and that's not going to work. So I feel that we have to be a bit more simplified in what we're saying to keep people with us and to keep people engaged because we could have somebody who's maybe not a great speaker, maybe not great to articulate themselves, but they might have a really great mind for this kind of thing. I think we need to
yeah,
encourage that we keep people along with us.
yeah.
So
Totally, I
yeah, I
totally
completely
agree.
agree. I mean, there is a massive difference between residual and intelligence, and like you said, I think
Well,
that,
you might not know that originally, though. I
and that
mean,
I
if
was just
if
going
you
to
don't
say
know,
that point. You don't always know.
the problem is, for instance, if you're staying in a really old building
Hmm,
and you see something like a monk,
hmm, hmm.
you know, I was like, okay, am I seeing an apparition from the past, or you just jumped out of time? Because
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
either way, you could have that experience in a sense, couldn't you?
Oh, for sure, yeah, and I think the fact that Rachel's American, actually. So, okay, let me start that again. I think the fact that in this country we have a long history, thousands of
Yeah.
years, and we've got lots of haunted buildings. But now Rachel's from America, and so okay, I know the Native American history goes back thousands of years. But if you look at
Yeah.
the American civilization,
Yeah.
which, well, like I said, should we say
It's
goes back
not
to
very old.
1776? No, it's that couple of 100 years.
Yeah.
But the amount of haunted buildings that we've got
Oh,
going, and
yeah.
I know a lot of those are native. We can connect them to Native
Yes.
Americans,
Yeah.
but a lot of them are hauntings from the 1700s, 1800s. So
Yeah.
is it something in the land that's
I,
giving
you
this
know, I,
massive
it's
feedback?
definitely got to something to do with the people experiences. I don't think that is just totally random. I think there's some type of conduit between people
Hmm.
who observe phenomena. But there's no time basis. It doesn't have to be 1,000-year-old castle
Oh no, no, no,
or
no.
or a 500-year-old building.
But
It could
that's
simply
my point. That's what I'm saying.
doesn't
It's like
matter.
there's so many haunted locations in America where there isn't that great history. So it
Yeah.
makes you think. So why is
Yeah.
that then? Like you say, because
This is the subject. This is what makes it so interesting. We've
yeah,
just
yeah.
not got all the answers. We have more answers in the poltergeist investigation stuff than hauntings. Hauntings, we have very little,
Mm,
really good science, to be honest with you. What we do know that there is no clear define between poltergeist and hauntings. A poltergeist phenomena can create haunting phenomena.
oh yeah, yeah.
And that's the problem. So there's no. At once it used to be clearly defined. Oh, this is a haunting. This is a poltergeist. Or I've even heard people say, "Oh, yes, it's haunted and it has a poltergeist." And I'm thinking to myself, there's no clear define between them. It just merges.
No, I think like you say, and I think that's another example of why we need some kind of like wide ranging loose organization moving forward, so we can like come up with not come up with terms, but agree on what is this and what is that. Because as you say, people are talking about the same kind of cases and the same kind of hauntings, but using different terminology and
Yeah.
with from different perspectives. So it does kind of muddy the waters even more than they actually need to be.
Well, he really does, and you'd think like, well, the most haunted places on in the world must be where maybe people have passed away the most. So you'd be thinking prisons, hospitals, and things. And I do know that Rachel, I think, has been involved in investigations
Mm-hmm.
in alleged haunted hospitals and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and maybe prisons and things like that. And I kind of get the fact that yeah, I can understand that having a footwall of stuff,
Mm.
because people maybe passed away in those
Yeah.
locations. I mean, we have a large hospital not too far from us. The whole hospital, which was very old, was knocked down and he built high-rise apartments over it.
Right.
And I used to drive past every day thinking, I wonder if anything goes on in those apartments.
Yeah. Most
Is it the
likely.
land or did the phenomena disappear with the building because it was the hospital?
Mm.
Who knows? I
No, you're
just
right.
don't
You're
know.
right. It's sort of thing that only study and collection of data will answer. But yeah, you're right. I've not thought of it like that actually. I mean, Trey Hudson alluded to that, didn't he? He said if you change the environment, then you're also
Yeah.
going to change the results of that environment. So quite possibly.
Well, definitely, especially when I've said to people, and they've forgotten, they've had paranormal disturbances, and I've said, look, things have calmed down a little bit. Here's a don't do list. Just let it settle the house for a bit. Don't start knocking walls down. Don't start bringing
Mhm.
trauma into the home. Just if you've got any problem, just keep it outside the home. Just let the house settle back to normal.
Yeah, yeah,
A few weeks later, maybe a couple of months later, they totally forgot. And then I get a phone call. Oh my God, it's all happened again. And
yeah,
then you start to realize, well, what is anything? And then oh yeah, well, we knocked this wall down, and I ended up having arguments, and I split up from my boyfriend, and I just think to myself, okay, they've forgotten, because
yeah.
it can't be that simple. That most people, people's houses are bought on the backbone of a feeling.
Mm.
Most of the time, I mean, people don't talk about it. They might walk into a house and say it's nice, but it's about that feeling. Is that, oh, it's got a really nice feel in this house. Or some people, the opposite, can go into and say
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
lovely, a beautiful house, but I tell you what, I've just got an odd feeling about
yeah.
it, and they
Definitely.
won't buy it. About 60, 70% of homes are, without even knowingly, are based on a
Yeah.
feeling that we have. And I think to myself, we should recognize that and keep hold of that feeling because it does mean something. And I think it does happen to a lot, but a lot of people forget
Mm.
that, homes can kick up again because statistically speaking, when you go and talk to people with paranormal phenomena, and they say, well, have you done any renovations,
Oh yeah,
alterations?
yeah. That's the big
Oh
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I think to myself, maybe you're changing the environment in not just physically and
Mm.
visually, but in that environment there's EMF, and
Yeah,
when you're
yeah,
changing the environment, you're causing chaos in the EMF fields until something's settled. So maybe that chaos
yeah.
brings forward the birth of phenomena in some cases.
Definitely, renovations is a big one. I mean, that happens quite a lot. What you say, you start renovation work, and then all of a sudden you get ghost activity. I think another one that's
Yeah,
downplayed a lot, and I'm not talking about the old way of thinking about pubescent children causing poltergeists or anything like that, but just general stress,
yeah,
just stress between
stress.
either yourself or
Yeah,
and then you've got that adage of like, well, okay, so you're feeling stress, and then that stress is feeding this manifestation, so it becomes a catch 22.
it comes out into your environment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So,
yeah,
I mean,
totally
but
get it.
absolutely. I mean, Steve, we should probably wrap this up in a bit. But one more thing I'd like to just quickly mention, and something I would like to get Rachel's views on, is witchcraft because she's from Tennessee. She's from California, but she lives in Tennessee now.
Yeah,
And you've got the Bell Witch out there, but more than just the legends, these unfortunate women who were hunted down and executed for their beliefs and for witchcraft were essentially just their time's equivalent of psychics, clairvoyants,
yeah,
people who are more
totally
attuned
agree.
in nature, people who are
Yeah.
using alternative medicine. So I'd
Mm.
love to get her views on that because it's a thing that isn't really spoken about and it perhaps should
It's
be.
not spoken about very often. I mean, it's got a bit of a bad rap, and it's a
Hmm.
shame, really, because people don't understand it right.
Yeah, yeah.
And they talk about witchcraft and witches. I mean, you've got the stereotypical 21st century witch, which is nothing to do with you know what witchcraft is. And then of course you've got black magic witchcraft.
Yeah,
You've got Wicca or white
yeah,
magic
yeah.
witchcraft. You know, there's variations of it and different practices, and it has been misinterpreted from healers. I mean, what the hell
Yeah.
has the healers got to do with being witches? You know, it's just, physical abnormalities, maybe through birth
Mm,
defects and stuff.
mm.
You know, yep, you've got the devil in you. You know, it's just crazy. It was a purging effect, really, across in numerous different countries around the world. But it was just driven through and do you know where it came from? Religion.
Oh, for sure.
It
Yeah.
was persecution from religion,
The
you know, saying
Inquisition. Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
cast the devils out, the demons out, and
Mm.
clear the land of the badness, you know. And now look where we are, mate.
Oh,
Look
for
where we
sure.
are in the 21st century.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you
Mm.
know what? If somebody was doing acupuncture in the 1500s, they'd be witch.
Oh, for
And
sure.
you
Yeah,
can go
yeah.
into the hospital now, and you look at the medication they're giving you. It's like, well, this is all plant extracts. You know, what they've done is they've stolen it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
from the healers
Yeah, yeah.
and prophetized it so that it's a pharmaceutical companies and they give you the same thing and rub their hands and say thank you, have a nice day. And and yet now all that stuff exists out there. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
There's a plant for everything out there.
Oh, and
It's
again,
weird.
that's that synchronicity sort of thing
So
again,
strange.
isn't
It's
it?
like it's meant to be. And yet
Absolutely.
it's just been the rug's been stolen from underneath the feet from the days of healers to now big pharmaceutical companies doing exactly the same thing and literally taking over the damn world. It is crazy times. But yes, persecution went far. People get scared of witchcraft and it doesn't need to be. I mean, I've met
No.
some witches,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and just, amazing people. So it's all down to what you believe. And, but be
Yes.
honestly, social conditioning does come into it, of course.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that's a very sobering and appropriate place to leave this, actually, Steve, to be perfectly honest. I mean, as always, thank you for speaking with me. Thank you for joining me. I'm looking forward to speaking with
Yeah,
Rachel.
I
Should be
am
a good
myself.
chat. Excellent stuff. And as always, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments. You can see the interview with Rachel on Halloween night, October the 31st. So look forward to that. And make sure you check us out on social media and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, goodbye and take care.